Hi Santosh, good afternoon. How are you doing?
Hi Gaurav, all well. Good afternoon to you. How are things?
Well, things are good. It's November and Delhi is beautiful in November time, as you can imagine. So, good things happening. How are things in Mysore?
They're
How's
fine.
the weather? How are things?
The weather's much better. It's been raining a little too much this year, but now it is sunny and dry, so it is very, very nice and crisp.
Lovely. So let's get into the topic, Santosh. It's a very important topic in today's world, which is performance transformation in the retail industry and why is it important, right? So before we talk a little more on this topic, Santosh, maybe an introduction and your background would be great for the audience to set the context, right? So over to you.
Sure. I've been around in the retail business for about 30 years, beginning with Levi Strauss in 1995 when they launched the business. So my role has essentially been in operations, and I have worked in fashion, cafes, electronics, and to a large extent in grocery businesses. In my last role, I was last two roles actually was CXO roles. I was a COO at 24/7 convenience stores, which is Delhi-based a grocery chain format. Then my last role was CEO at Nicobar Design, which is a lifestyle brand in the home and clothing categories. So that's a brief about me. Very excited to be in this podcast about retail. Very passionate about it. I've lived my better part of my life in retail, and I've seen and learned a lot.
Oh, that's great. Now, Santosh, with over 2 decades of experience in retail, and you've kind of seen it all. How do you think the industry has transitioned in the last 2 decades, and what used to work, what works now? What has been the journey for you and for the retail industry so far?
See, the retail industry is relatively new in India. The industry really kicked off in the mid '90s when new brands like, Titan, Levi's, and some others were created in India. In year 2000, the decade of 2000s, the first decade of the century was more about larger formats. Because then we saw the bigger chains like, Big Bazaar, Lifestyle, and all of them come in. And also a lot of specializations started happening. We saw specialization in jewelry, for example. Jewelry stores started coming up, and homeware brands started, very branded retail because home was otherwise typically a market retail. The following decade, which is 2010 to 2020, was a decade in my mind of a lot of turmoil because there was FDI, yes, no. Large formats came in and went away. We saw Walmart come in and go. We saw large formats like the wholesale businesses come and go, uh, and the entry of e-commerce. I think that really kind of really churned the ocean, so to speak. This decade that we are in is actually looking like where retail is coexisting in physical and offline, sorry, online and offline formats. There is a strong comeback in the offline front. We're seeing a lot of online players investing in offline. There are a lot of offline players learning how to grow in the online business. So it's a good mix. Omni is here to stay, so to speak. Yeah. So retail that way is evolving. A lot of focus is now coming to profitability, profitable growth, and not just being aggressive for the sake of opening stores. People have burnt fingers, and they've learned to do this better. So interesting times for retail. Yeah.
Right. And where do you see the next decade or maybe 10 years going from here on for the retail industry? Do you think it's going to follow the same path of omni-channel where e-commerce and physical retail will be doing? Because, what I see is that there was a time where physical retail channels were opening their e-commerce stores, and now e-commerce stores, actually the other way around, where e-commerce stores are opening more experience centers and physical retail for their users to get that experience. So how do you think that's going to coincide in the next few years coming?
See, Gaurav, the way business and not just for retail, the way it's evolving, I think 10 years is a very, very difficult horizon to look at. I think at the most one can look at 2 years. The present is every brand is looking at ways of reaching its end consumer, expanding the consumer base at the lowest possible cost, and making sure that in whatever way the brand reaches the customer makes an impact and makes the customer come back, right? So it could be that for some brands, quick commerce is a bigger uh, share of the channel pie. For some brands, it could be hard retail, uh, physical retail. So, like I was saying, the jewelry brands, for example, they need to spend time with customers. There's a lot more involvement in the purchase process. So, therefore, a physical retail is must do for them. Whereas a home brand, a home products brand, which relies on gifting, can well rely on quick commerce, because today people are time starved. They want to be able to make easy choices, and Blinkit has really kind of you can get almost anything in Blinkit. So it's a I don't think there is a rule. I think a lot of people will try different formats, try different things, learn, go. But at the end of the day, it is I think boiling down to a profitable acquisition and retention of customers.
Sure. Now let's dive into a little more into our topic of performance, right? Now,
Yeah.
performance is also in retail. I mean, at Job, at Joy of Performing, we delve into business performance, people performance, and sales performance.
Yeah.
And actually, we all bring it all together because our philosophy is that it is not isolated. One is not away from the other, and the business to perform better, all these three pillars need to be in tandem. So from that point of view, Santosh, what are some of the important metrics when it comes to either business or people or sales? What are some of the important metrics that people have to worry about or work on in retail for it to be profitable today?
Yeah. See, as per my learnings and experience, when one is expanding retail or adding more stores, one important parameter is your return on capex, right? Which means that once you set up the store and spend, say, half a crore on setting up the store, in how many months do you recover or do you start making a profit? So that becomes one goalpost. On an ongoing basis, it is your sales trending you towards profitability, or is it taking away from it? At the end of the day, for every company in retail business to be successful, they have to look at unit level economics, which means that every outlet that they have, and be that outlet a dark store or a live store, it has to be making profit at the unit level so that it can contribute enough money for the whole company to be profitable. Okay, so in that sense, I've always looked at my store manager being like a CEO of the business. So he is managing a store. Could be in Raipur, could be in South Extension, Delhi, could be on MG Road, Bangalore, wherever he is. But he is accountable for that physical unit. He's got the resources of people. He's got the expenses like rent, electricity, etc., etc. Okay, so how is he making the store unit profitable? The primary thing for that is sales, because beyond a point, you cannot go after the costs. If a real estate is signed up, then you're stuck with the rental. You'll have to make it profitable. So it's about unit level economics. It's about store profitability, and the first point of contact is sales, because that is what you can grow.
Yeah, I think it's important to also realize that while the top line or the sales can be the lag indicator, there's certain lead indicators who lead to that lag indicator, right?
That's, yeah,
So, and that is where one can control because the lag indicator is only going to come after the time has passed. So, what are some of the lead indicators, Santosh, according to you? And it's very important, a very interesting point that you make is as a sales manager is like a CEO, right? So if I'm the CEO, I'm the sales manager of, let's say, a South Extension store in Delhi. What should be my lead indicators for me to become profitable over the period of time?
okay. So they come in this sequence. The first indicator is the traffic. Okay, the volume of traffic that is walking into your store. Now that could vary weekday, weekend. It could vary quarter by quarter basis of season, festive, non-festive, etc. So therefore, what is the quantum of people walking in, and is that quantum growing year on year? So is my Diwali walk-in better than last year? Okay, so that's a first call. How do you make the volume of customers walking in higher? Is a primary lead indicator. Do that, store manager will have to do certain things. For example, he has to make sure that the inventory that he's carrying is suitable for the market and he's got enough stock of it. Because where does a customer walk into a store? He wants to buy something or he wants to try out something. it'll be a great disappointment. Obviously, all of us have experienced it. When he walks in, she walks in, doesn't find it, and walks out. You're never going to come back. Okay, so it's very imperative that the store manager make sure the right inventory is available. Second, how is the inventory presented? How's the windows? How's the display? How's the salesman interaction? And third is how's the sales closure? I would say not even sales closure. How's the conversation? Like recently, I went to a store to buy steel utensils. Yeah, steel utensils, very low involvement product. We just walk in, buy in, and get out. The shop. This is my first time into that shop. Shopkeeper looked at me and said that I don't have the kind of quality that you want. I didn't even tell him what kind of quality I want, but he looked at me and made a judgment. He didn't. He was not pushing to sell. He was pushing to serve, right? But he made an impact. I walked out. I bought my utensil somewhere else, but I will never forget him. I will go back to him next time I want something else. So that is the third element, the experience. How is the interaction with that customer, and how do you let that customer go out of the door? The feeling with which he goes out of the door will determine how soon he'll come back, whether he buys something or not. So it's stock availability, it is presentation, and it is a service. So these are the uh, primary things that one must work on towards the leading indicator of traffic and then conversion. Yeah,
Got
a lot
it.
of companies just
Sorry.
stick to measuring average order value, average bill value, average that and averages. They're all averages at the end of the day. Yeah, what
No, I
matters?
think
Yeah,
right. I think it's important how you put it together. But sorry, go on. I think you're talking a little more on the matrix. I think these are great pointers, so I don't want to stop. Please go
yeah.
on.
So the lead indicator basically is the traffic and the conversion, because the traffic determines how attractive your store is, what was the feedback about it in the market, Google business ratings, advertising, whatever. The conversion is the conversation, the presentation that you've had there.
No, great. And I think it also depends on the size of the organization, the maturity, how many stores you've got,
Yes.
and what are the backends look like. But the good thing is what I get from this, this is not all arts or this is not all science. I think it's a good combination of both,
That's
where
right.
science is all about data and first understanding what are the metrics that really count for you and your business and retail, put them all together, have those hard KPIs be understood and written down, that what are the KPIs that are going to have an impact on those metrics, and put them down. And then I think the whole art side of it, or is on the people side of it, that do they care? Do they have the right competencies to be the front face to your customer?
Correct.
Of how that experience as a customer, if I walk in, how do they make me feel? And I
Correct.
think that is where the whole people side of it comes together. And
Correct.
there, not just the skill, but the competencies of the people also matter. The soft competencies also matter. So
Yeah.
that's great. So now, Santosh, let me ask you that question. Now, when once we understand that these are some of the data points of the matrix, which are KPIs, or let's say key results which matter, and then on the soft competencies of people, how do you usually put it together? And is there a technology that can help? Because otherwise we all know it, it's very intuitive, but to make it a process that goes from top down and is aligned, how do you do that in the organization?
I think that's where I see a gap today in the industry where it's not very clear, um, and it is kind of left to hope, so to speak, right? So there is a sales target. The sales target is there at a national level, regional level, area level, city level, store level, maybe even day level, whatever. What do you do with that target? How is that target broken down into task? Okay, so for example, if you have to do a lakh a day in a certain store, okay, and you have typically you sell, let's say, 50% of your sales is beverages, 30% of sales is food, just for example. Yeah, how much does the store manager know about what sells within the 50%? So then what is he doing about making sure that he's got enough of it, he's put them in the right place, he's got the right prices on it, and all of that? I think that's where there's a breakdown, because what happens today, in most companies is that the target is rolled down and then left to the ingenuity, whatever, of the store manager to get it. Okay, तुम करो जो भी करना है, मुझे बना के दो types, right? But how much support is the store manager getting in from his superior in saying that this is how you need to get to your target? These are So that's where your point of data also comes. Does the store manager really know how much of what sells when, so that he's got the right kind of stock kept in the right kind of place, and his team is aware that to hit your 1 lakh, these are the buttons you need to press. And if you do not have enough stock of something, for example, or if you do not have whatever, say some breakdown, what do you need to do? So therefore, the KPIs of the store manager should be actually very granular to say that, again, coming back to the footfalls and the conversion, that is he really keeping the right amount of stock? Is he serving the customer right? Are the sales people well aware how to sell, what to sell, when to sell, increase the basket size, and so on and so forth? I don't know if that answers your question, but I see a breakdown in that. It is
Right.
the how of doing the what.
No, absolutely. I think you answer the question absolutely correctly. And that is where the difference from a high performing team to not so high performing team happens, right? A high
Yeah,
performing teams breaks it down as a science and doesn't rely on hope, and they
yeah,
rely on data, they rely on processes,
yeah,
versus a low performing team sometimes is too intuitive, and that is where I think the difference is.
yeah.
Now I know we've spoken about it, Santosh, that in your last organization you use a framework called OKRs, objective key results, right? I want you to talk a little about it, that why did you choose it, where did you hear about it, how did it impact the organization, and were you happy deploying it, and is this something that you think organizations, and mostly in retail, will it impact, and how?
Okay, sure. So when I uh, joined Nicobar, we were at a cusp of growth where we had just about broken even and heading towards profitability. We had a few new leaders in the team. We all were hungry for growth. The brand was well established, very, very well loved by customers. So doing the same things, more and more of the same things, we didn't feel was the way out. We have to get more productive with our own way of working. We adopted OKRs as a method of giving us structure, giving us direction, giving us a way of setting clear targets and a way of checking and measuring where we're going. OKRs helped us kind of knit ourselves together towards one goal. OKRs helped us realize not just what each function is doing, but what other functions are doing. So there
Hmm.
was an openness, an awareness. Yeah. We also did in the early days, we had a collaborative OKR where key departments had common OKRs so that they can hash it out together and kind of progressively move forward and not, find faults at the other side. So what happened as a result was there was a strong cohesion among leaders, and that started percolating downwards. We became many functions to one team. Yeah. Of course, there are challenges. It is not an ideal situation where, in quarter everything worked. It took us about 3 or 4 quarters. We started in a very rough and dirty way on Excel sheets and all of that stuff. A lot of hard work, a lot of redoing calendars and putting a lot of focus and all of that. And then we entered into working through a proper OKR tool that really gave us structure. In the final stages, before I left, we linked OKR to the performance review.
Hmm.
The
Interesting.
performance review did not become a once in a year or twice in a year activity where people wrote out whatever they did, but everyone already knew their performance because
Hmm.
check-ins was happening every fortnight. So it was not a surprise. Everybody knew what was going on, right? Uh, so that it kind of uh, uh, stitched everything together. In the last financial year, we even linked the AOP planning to OKR.
Hmm.
So the OKR of the quarter had AOP, and when the AOP was done, it naturally transitioned into new OKRs.
Understood.
This also dovetailed into our monthly business reviews. So monthly business reviews became a little more strategic, a little more project oriented, while the OKRs became more transactional, more objective oriented. And then this ended up with a performance review. So it was like a, so to speak, like a diamond. AOP, OKR, monthly business review, and annual performance appraisal.
So I'm just curious, and this is great. Yeah, this is fantastic. That how are you able to like connect your business goals to the team goals, and teams were working together collaboratively towards those business goals with utmost transparency and accountability, that you could hold them with those OKRs, and then connect that with the performance reviews, so they knew that what are they going to be measured on, and how is that measure going to have an impact on the business as well. So that's fantastic. Was incentives or any PLI also connected towards those reviews? Like, people were incentivized in any way when they were able to reach their targets? How did compensation work?
I think compensation, we didn't change too much in the way compensation worked. There is a fixed pay, variable pay, and then there was, for the store teams, there was incentive. Not much was changed there. But I think that's a project that the team has now taken on to look at how that needs to be linked. But there was nothing of that sort there.
Understood. Understood. No, that's great. The way and it's interesting. Like, I've worked with many retail businesses, FMCG, many different industries, and the way I look at it is that every business has three layers that it has to go when it's digitizing itself. I think it's the first layer is the information layer, where you're trying to get data at the real time when it can really help you to make those very, very big decisions, or decisions which are data backed, right? and
Right.
and today that is also important because data is flowing in from various different sources. So how do you have that integrated offering for you to have one transparent view of data is also important. Now, once that information layer is sorted, then the second layer for the business to tackle is the insight layer. Like, what is the insight that you draw from that information? And that could be, again, hard code KPIs, your people, competencies or feedback or reviews that you're talking about on incentives variable, but many insights that you can
Yeah.
gather, right? Both internally and externally in your business. And then the last layer is the impact layer, which
Hmm.
is very outcome driven. That what is the impact that that information or the insight you took or the decisions you took from that insight, how did it really impact the business? So I mean, that's my pyramid, if you say so, from the bottom of information to the middle of insight to the top of impact.
Yeah.
What do you have to say about this? And does that make sense? And is that what happened at Nicobar as well when you were going through that journey of transition?
Yes, I think all of us in the last few years have had a digital overload, information overload. There's so much information available. We do not know where to start and what to prioritize. So in our beginning, yes, it did happen because everybody is looking at their own set of information, and there's of course an ERP. Uh, as we went through the OKR process, we realized that we need to prioritize. Be very clear on what are the primary P1, P2s that we need to look at in terms of each function is measurable, and how does that add to the whole. Okay, so if the KPI was, for example, cash flows or profitability, within each function, what are those KPIs that add to that one? It's possible that a function does not have anything to do with profitability. It's possible.
Hmm.
Okay,
Hmm.
so then there'll be some other KPI for that function. So now once we decided what are the primary and focused OKRs, then we knew that from the information tank, okay, what are the main things that we need to kind of pull out and observe so we get an insight from it. Is to use our fortnightly check-ins to draw the insights from specific information. So it was not like 100 information things to get 5 insights. It was 100 information things, 12 focus information things, from there 5 insights.
Got
And
it.
5 insights must help in delivering key results in the AOP plan.
Hmm.
Okay,
And
key.
that's the impact, right? That's the
That's it.
outcome.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I would define impact as action taken. Okay.
Hmm.
So again in the OKR, your objective could be opening 5 stores. Okay. But the initiative or the action is opening 5 stores within a certain cost per square foot,
Hmm.
in a certain time span from
Hmm.
prospecting to opening, okay, or such things, right? So then that becomes very so the information, insight, and impact. For me, the impact is more about, I would rephrase that to action.
Hmm.
You're making an impact by taking an action. Okay, and that action is defined as an initiative in the OKR.
Sure. No, that's fantastic. Now, I know we're almost at the fag end. I want to talk about AI, artificial intelligence, and how is that going to disrupt the retail market at all? Any views on that? Anything that you have seen as trends which are emerging in the retail from the AI space?
Look, at a very rudimentary level, there is camera AI. You know, where you can use AI of video cameras to figure out what's going on in your store, the hot zones. How's the traffic flowing, where are customers getting obstructed, how much time is spent on service, and those kind of stuff. But an interesting area is actually how do you use AI to your point on moving from information to insight. Yeah, 100 data points. Okay, where is the breakdown happening, or where is something really happening very well that you can really take advantage of? Okay, that's where AI comes in. That
Hmm.
real time. Now just imagine there's a store manager sitting remotely in Raipur. Okay, if the AI can tell him, hey, you know what, something different happened last weekend, you achieved your target, you're celebrating and all of that stuff, but did you know that you achieved your target because of one, two, three, four things? Okay, so therefore if you press harder on that, you will hit your target next weekend as well.
Very well. Very
Okay,
well.
or you reach your target, but you know what, there is something that totally went bust, it got covered up because something else really worked well. Okay, so I'll
Sure.
give you an example. You got 100 more footfalls this last weekend, but your conversion tanked.
Hmm.
You could have predicted you could getting more 100 footfalls because there was an event happening in the mall. So therefore, you could have arranged the staffing in such a way. If your staffing was right, meaning at peak hours, you could have got more conversion. So this is something AI can track. AI can help you tell you that, hey, you know what? There's a traffic pattern because of the Holy weekend is going to change. Not Holy weekend, not a good idea. Let's say Christmas weekend is going to change. Therefore, your staffing has to be in this pattern to make sure your conversions don't drop because of heavy traffic. What does the store manager do? He says, boss, conversion went down because there are too many customers. Come on, you have a good problem of too many
Yeah.
customers. So how
Yeah.
do you deal with it? So AI can actually sharpen the saw there. Okay. And as a manager, if he's got the AI tool that can tell him these insights, and the store manager also realize he can find out these insights, that's an edge. So AI in data, AI in getting the right insight from the information that we have will be brilliant. I think that's the way to go. And that is what the CEO, which is the store manager, if he gets that, then he's unstoppable.
Oh, that's awesome. That's how you enable the CEO, right?
That's right.
Or the store manager,
Yeah.
like you said.
Yeah.
As you would have imagined by now, I love frameworks,
Hmm.
and from the OKR framework to the information, insight, or impact framework, I have another framework that we
Okay.
work with at Job or Joy of Performing and help to solve the problem that you are saying that to solve for, where we say it's prescribe, um, predict predict, prescribe, and then transform. Which
Hmm.
is, with all the information that we are getting, how is our system using AI can predict what is the problem?
Yeah.
Whether it can predict the problem for the future with the past instances, and then
Hmm.
how does it prescribe the stakeholder, and there can be many different stakeholders, and different stakeholders need different kind of prescription as well, which is very focused to what they can do, right? if
Yeah.
i tell the if I tell the HR something about sales, may or may not be useful, but if I tell the sales manager things about sales, that is what the most useful information is. And you rightly said there is information overload. So how do you predict, then how do you prescribe that stakeholder, and that what leads to the transformation? So I think it's very interesting you brought that up. Great. So any parting thoughts, Santosh, before we let you go, and anything you would like to talk to our audience about that we may not have covered in the podcast today?
I was thinking as you're talking about the last framework of beginning with predict. Um, so we just passed Diwali, right? A lot of businesses I hear have done very well in retail. Yeah. Uh, Now, 3, 4 weeks after Diwali, do we really have an insight as to why some businesses have done well or not done well? And therefore, what is the predictive model for next Diwali? Right?
Interesting.
So So here's a business that has sold, say, 10,000 gift packs, for example, okay, across, say, 25 SKUs. Okay. So this year there was good stocking, good planning, everything was perfect. Stock came well in time, store manager happy, everybody happy. They really did well. Yeah. If the AI tool can tell me, hey, you know what, all is good, right? The next year's ordering, now this is to from sales to supply chain. The next year's ordering, you should do it in this way, as in more of these SKUs, less of this SKUs, more of this price point, less price point, because then your gross margins from Diwali of next year can be better.
Right.
Yeah, they know that it's gross margin going to the bank. Then that's interesting for the sourcing and the merchandise planning and all of that, right? Today, what
Sure.
does merchant do? The poor merchants are like physically, rows and columns and rows and columns and trying to figure out, "Ki, what the hell happened that went right?" Okay.
Right.
Then they
Correct.
find out, okay, couple of things. And if you ask the retail guys, they'll say, "Mal bejo." But that's not right because you have to manage inventory as well. Get more efficient with the inventory. Okay. So if the
Yeah.
AI tool, like
That's
you said,
expensive, right? Inventory is expensive. Yeah.
very expensive. Yeah. So invest in AI that will tell you how to predict better. Okay. And then, so therefore, plan for next Diwali. So
Interesting.
similarly, Rakhi, summer, whatever, right?
Right.
Yeah.
No, lovely. Thank you. Thanks, Santosh, for your time today. Just for our audience, if they want to reach out to you and get more insight, intelligence on the retail subject matter, what is the best way to reach out to you?
Call me, WhatsApp me. Don't call me, actually, WhatsApp me. Yeah. So I'll be happy to have a conversation, jump in, meet up. Yeah.
Sure. I'm not going to ask for your number on the public platform, but maybe you can share on your LinkedIn or somewhere where they can reach out. And are you active on LinkedIn? Is
I am
that
active.
okay? Great,
I'm
great.
active. I'm
So
sure.
our professional can reach out to you there. Thank you
Absolutely.
so much, Santosh. Have a great week ahead, and congratulations for your kid's wedding. I know that's
Thank you.
coming soon.
Thank you, Gaurav. Yeah, that's a big operation by itself. Thank you so much.
Yes, I'm
Looking
sure
forward
you've
to
done
more
all the
podcasts.
Rokias for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, there are. Okay.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Take care
Bye-bye.
now.